Hello seniors, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we get to start a new unit that I'm very excited for. We're doing the Into the Wild unit. Into the Wild is a novel that we will be reading together. We won't read all of it, we'll read bits and pieces of it, but it's really quite a fun piece of literature to cover. In addition, this is my third year teaching it. I taught it while student teaching. I taught it last year and this year, so I'm very excited to get going. This is one of my absolute favorite things that I teach. So let's go ahead and get into the Google Slides. Into the Wild is an inspirational book written by Jon Krakauer. The book recounts the real travels of Christopher McCandless across North America and his life spent in the Alaskan wilderness in the early 1990s. This is the movie poster. Unfortunately, we won't get to watch the movie because it is rated R. Hopefully, I'll get to show bits and pieces of it. And here's the book cover. Why should you read Into the Wild? Reason number one, it's required reading in this class. And it's a lot more interesting than Beowulf, which is what English 4 reads. Reason number two, you could have some personal connections to Chris. He never wanted or planned to go to college, but his parents talked him into it, and he was fiercely independent and very self-reliant. Reason three, wanderlust. McCandless had a huge urge to travel and live out his dreams, and he craved adventure. And reason four, nature. The unconquerable, unpredictable side of nature appears in the first pages of Into the Wild and continues to appear throughout the book. Who was Chris McCandless? So over to the right, you can see some pictures of Chris. He was born February 12th, 1968 to Billy and Walt McCandless. He had one sister, Corinne, and he also had 6 half-siblings from Walt's first marriage. He grew up in Annandale, Virginia, which is pretty close to Washington, D.C. He worked for NASA Walt worked for NASA until he started his own business with his wife, Billy. Walt was kind of like a genius. He had a really brilliant mind. However, Walt and Billy working together caused a lot of friction in their marriage, and they were both emotionally and physically abusive to one another. Chris graduated from Emory University in 1990 with degrees in history and anthropology. Supertramp's adventure. So after Chris graduated, he donated his savings to charity and set out on his great quest for personal freedom. He renamed himself Alexander Supertramp. Tramp doesn't mean necessarily the definition that you guys probably think of when you think of it. It means someone who kind of tramps around on foot, traveling. He traveled all over the West, and by 1992, he set out on his great adventure, which was Alaska. He was determined to prove to himself that he could live off the wild and away from civilization. Chris's beliefs. He was very independent and self-reliant, and he based his beliefs off Ralph Waldo Emerson, and hopefully we'll get to read a little bit of Emerson. McCandless had a philosophy that there was no need for human relationships to be happy. He was also non-conforming. He had a fear of being involved with society because he saw it as a threat to his independence, and he found it more important to trust his own instincts. And he was also trying to find himself through nature, and he was inspired by Henry David Thoreau. McCandless books. So he brought some books on his adventure, which is just kind of interesting to note. He brought Family Happiness by Leo Tolstoy, Walden by Henry David Thoreau, Terminal Man by Michael Crichton, The Death of Ivan Ilitch by Leo Tolstoy, and The Call of the Wild by Jack London. Who is Jon Krakauer? So Jon Krakauer is our author. He's an American writer. He was born April 12th, 1954, and he's still alive today. He graduated from New Hampshire College in 1976. He was a mountaineer. He frequently writes about the wild, and he enjoys mountain climbing. In Into the Wild, Krakauer draws parallels between Chris McCandless' adventure and his own throughout the book. He was a member of the tragic 1996 Mount Everest trek, and he's written 3 best-selling books, including Into the Wild, Into Thin Air, and Eager Dreams. Into Thin Air, which I know you watched the movie with Miss Moore sophomore year, but in 1996, John reached the top of Mount Everest. 4 of his 5 teammates died from the descent from Mount Everest, this was during the Mount Everest disaster. He wrote about this for Outside Magazine, which turned into his book, Into Thin Air. A brief summary of Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer was published in 1996. The book is a continuation of an article that Krakauer wrote for a magazine titled Outside. Krakauer tells the story of his own experiences as well as Chris's journey and how they tie together, and it draws parallels between their experiences. And this will be posted to Google Classroom. I would highly recommend watching the Into the Wild movie trailer. Let's talk about our assignment for today. We're going to do the bucket list activity. While Chris McCandless did not set out with a bucket list, he knew he wanted to travel and distance himself from society. You might ask, why do people create bucket lists? A bucket list might give someone direction in life. It helps to guide people toward new things and new experiences. When you focus your list, it can give a new sense of direction in your life and a purpose. The moment you put your pencil to paper and start typing what you want to achieve, you've already changed the way you think. You are mentally putting your intentions out there. So there's 3 parts to this. Part 1 is 3 places you want to travel. Write down 3 places you want to travel and explain why in 1 to 2 complete sentences. So name a place, explanation. Part 2, 3 experiences you want to have. So write down 3 experiences that you want to have and explain why in 1 to 2 sentences. There are examples on all of these if you need a little inspiration. So name of experience and explanation. And then 3, career bucket list. Write down 3 career goals you have for your career and explain why in 1 to 2 complete sentences. So name of goal and explanation why you want to visit there. As always, let me know if you have any questions and have a wonderful day.